Rams fans, welcome in on this edition of Rams Showcase. The Rams have another frustrating home primetime game. We talk about it. Plus, playoffs still very much in play for the Rams. We'll talk about the easiest way for LA to get to second season in the NFC. And later, the Rams hit the road for an important conference game. We preview Rams at Saints. Let's rock.
This is Rams Showcase with your host, Sheriff Joe Bags.
Yes, welcome into it, Rams Showcase. I am Sheriff Joe Bags. Thanks for joining me on your Thanksgiving week. Hope you got some awesome plans. If you don't, we'll go make some or do something kind of cool or spread some good into the world, maybe. As the Recycling Rams, recyclingrams.com, still last place. Get signed up. Do some good on your Thanksgiving week. And hopefully, like I said, you got some awesome plans going for you. And we'll get into some good football this Thanksgiving weekend. It's a long weekend. Hopefully you got the long weekend. I myself am taking the Thursday and Friday from work, and then Saturday, Sunday, of course. So I'm getting a bit of an extended break. I feel like I need it. Hopefully you are able to get some relaxation and some family time over this holiday season. At Rams Showcase, at Sheriff Joe Bags. That's where you can follow along on social media. Also, ramshowcase.com. We are still looking for somebody, by the way. I have not had anybody reach out. So if you feel like you have the ability to maybe help out Rams Showcase a little bit, let's have some conversations, all right? This is not a free gig. So, yeah, hit me up. Mainly, I'll tell you, I am looking for somebody to kind of help with social media in that world and like clipping things and, stuff like that. I'm not big on short form media. I'm not really good at it. Definitely have not dove into that world yet. So, hey, if I need to, that's absolutely fine, but I got to carve out some time to do so, which means no live streams until I can find some help. Unfortunately, it just takes up too much time. And also, I got like a full-time job and also like friends and stuff. So you got to give me that a little bit. All right. But of course, yeah, just reach out to me, ramshowcase@gmail.com. That is going to be the best way to do that. If you feel like, again, you can help out Rams Showcase. On the back end as well, by the way, we'll get into our fan quesos. Got some interesting ones for you. But we'll try to keep those as Rams related, Rams on field specific as we can. Obviously, we want to have some fun with those. But the influx of so many of them, want to keep it as football related as we possibly can. We'll talk about that on the back end. But if you do have any Rams questions for me, feel free to get those in anytime. I do post on the YouTube channel for questions, also on the Rams Showcase Facebook page. So check me out there. Let's go and get into the business, though. We'll start with the unfortunate news that we got this week, early in the week, and that is that Rams wide receiver Demarcus Robinson was arrested Monday morning on suspicion of a DUI. Whatever that means. I feel like you either are or you're not driving drunk. You know what I mean? I don't know the situation, though. Not necessarily any of my business. So we'll kind of see how it all shakes out. But Robinson was released from custody just a few hours later, and I will say that we do have word from Sean McVay now that his availability for this week will not be impacted. We are fully anticipating that Demarcus Robinson will take the field against the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. We will see if the league steps in with any kind of suspension after that, but of course the Rams will be returning home to take on the Buffalo Bills the following week at SoFi Stadium. So obviously a game where we would like to be as close to full power as we possibly could, and I will say it looks like we could be as close to full strength on both sides of the ball that we could possibly be, that we could ask for going into a Week 14 matchup at home against the Buffalo Bills, man. So it's going to be an interesting little situation to watch unfold, but obviously, Demarcus Robinson, I will say that I am not changing my opinion on D-Rob based on any of this information that we've gotten. It sounds like he's addressed the team, that he actually spoke with his teammates and the coaches. They're saying he's shown remorse, and I think that ultimately, man, there's no reason to think that Demarcus Robinson is like unhinged or like a bad dude at this point or anything like that. We all make mistakes. If you haven't, well, you're lying to both me and you, and that's unappreciated. But Demarcus Robinson, obviously a top-tier human being and a very critical part of this Rams team, not only in the football aspect, but in a leadership and personality aspect as well. He fits in really well here. So my opinions on him, myself, are not changing. If they're changing for you, well, that's all you, man. Do your thing. I'm not going to tell you how to be a fan. That's not what Ram Showcase is about. But this is a situation that we will be watching to see if there is going to be any kind of suspension. Feels like no, I'll be honest, based on the information that we have received so far. I mean, obviously driving in excess of 100 miles an hour, we've seen situations end a lot worse when NFL players are speeding. I am referring to Henry Ruggs. So obviously we got, I don't want to say lucky, but we do feel fortunate that we don't have a player that was making those kind of decisions. And ultimately everybody's safe. There was no harm done to DeMarcus or anybody in his vehicle or any others. So we're definitely thankful for that. Again, something that we will continue to watch. If I do have any updates for you, we'll dive into that next week. Let's get into our main story, though, as I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles game. Sunday Night Football. Frustrating game. No way around that, dude. No way around that at all. And I realize that some people are going to disagree with what I say next, no matter what. And it's simply because of how that game unfolded. But I actually do think that it was a lot closer than the score would tell you. All right, let me explain. Yes, first and foremost, before I dive into all this, the Eagles are a good football team. And I don't want to try to take anything away from them in that kind of realm. All right, they're a good football team. And guess what? They came in and they played some good football. All right, we have a very young team and we made some unfortunate mistakes. But I don't want to take anything away from Philadelphia because they came in ready to play. They set up mismatches. They called great plays on third downs offensively and defensively and just put the Rams in a bad spot. So the Eagles did what they needed to do, come in on an NFC opponent and win the game. Stay in play for the number 1 seed, stay in play for 2 or 3 seed, whatever that happens to be with the way the NFC is shaking out right now. But the Eagles are a very good football team, and they played like a very good football team. They played good football, man. So what can you do about it, man? I think that Peo kind of said it the best on his post-game reaction of like, dude, credit to them, man. They came in, they played good. Like, that's a good football team, and they showed it. So I think it was less about us and more about them in this game, unfortunately. And I know that, we've all got main character syndrome or energy or whatever, where we all think that like, it's like, no, this is our story and you guys are part of it kind of thing. And in that game, it just didn't really feel like it. Similar to the Miami game, similar to the Arizona game. I would even say similar to the Packers game. It feels like we are like the side story on their story almost, which is unfortunate. But I did do my rewatch. I did it this time on Monday. I wanted to get it as the emotions of the game were a little bit still fresh for me. Because, yeah, it was a frustrating game. Watching that one unfold, man, obviously a bit of a blowout. The Rams scored late, which kind of made it feel a little bit close. But ultimately, you look at the score and you're like, yeah, that's a bad game. That's not good. And don't get me wrong. What I'm about to say here is not trying to ignore the fact that, like, yeah, it was a bad day, and we did, give up way too many points and not score enough ourselves. But after rewatching, it was very clear that there were only so many plays that really changed the outcome of the game. Philadelphia Eagles played a better football game than the LA Rams. That's indisputable, all right? But the blowout aspect of this game came because of 5 or 6 plays, maybe. And that's really it, man. That really changed the outcome, and in obviously a very big way. But first, start with the Eagles. They had some explosive plays, dude. Explosive plays. And when they had explosive plays, not only was it just a big play, a momentum shift play or anything like that, they were just full-on big touchdowns. Just massive touchdown runs. Saquon just running all over the place. Obviously the AJ Brown touchdown, stuff like that. Those are big plays, and it seemed like every time the Eagles got one, it was points, not just a big third down pickup, 3rd and 18 or something like that, where they just pick it up and you can try again. It's like, no, that's a drive ending play because they scored a touchdown kind of thing. Fumbling on the kind of going to the Rams now. The Rams just made plenty of mistakes, and it seemed like each of those mistakes felt like they were at the worst possible time to have that kind of mistake. You know what I mean? Fumbling on the first drive, we had a 2nd and 1 at the 12-yard line that ended up being a 47-yard field goal attempt that was missed. Puka had a big 3rd down pickup late in the game, 3rd and 13, had a pickup, but it was OPI, so gets called back. Next play, Stafford sacked, fumble. Rams recover, but it's like now it's a punting situation when we had a 1st down in the red zone. That kind of stuff kind of just added up on the D-Rob touchdown drive to start the second half. The Rams' first drive of the second half. That play opened with a Kyren fumble, so it almost didn't even happen. That whole drive almost didn't even happen. 9 plays and with a 3 and outs in the second quarter. That's obviously deadly. Going into halftime off of 9 plays for -6 yards and no first downs in the second quarter. That's obviously a bit of a killer for you in so many different ways. Obviously, it's a score killer because they're being able to work it down. It's a defense killer because they're getting no rest at all. And it's just an emotional killer because now you're going into halftime and you're like, can we even move this ball, dude? You know, it's just a tight spot. And then you come out of second half and then Saquon runs for the first play all the way for a touchdown. And it was like, at that point, it was like, all right, this is just not our day. Like, that's very clearly, it's just not our day. And then obviously the Rams were able to score down. Like I said, the next drive was a touchdown to Demarcus Robinson. But again, that almost didn't happen. If Steve Avila is not there to jump on a fumble from Kyren, then that drive doesn't even happen. And they score a touchdown. They get the ball back first play, and then they have the ball on our side of the field immediately. So obviously, that's just not good stuff. But the Eagles had a great game plan. Obviously, I don't want to take anything away from them. Great game plan. Fangio defense did it again to Sean McVay. We've seen that before, that a Fangio defense is just really good against Sean McVay's offense. And I thought Sean McVay was kind of prepared for that based on what we saw in like the Sean McVay show earlier in the week and stuff. And it just seemed like that wasn't the case. Or Fangio was maybe doing some stuff that McVay didn't expect. But I will say, because it was Fangio versus McVay, I just don't think that this is a defining game, a season-defining game for the Rams. I don't think we're going to look at the Eagles game and be like, that is it. That's the game that sums up our season. I really don't think that that's the case. In fact, I would say it's probably closer to the Patriots game. And maybe that's just me being me or whatever like that. But it's like, yeah, we're good, but like not. We're good enough. Like, but it's like, we're not killing it, you know. And I think that game is an accurate representation. I would say more accurate, I guess, than this one for sure. Because Fangio again just kind of has McVay's number. But McVay, he's always struggled against that defense. It doesn't mean we need to fire him. People have bad matchups. That doesn't mean that they should just get fired for it, because the next guy is going to have bad matchups too, and that might be more than just a front that likes to run, you know, a 5-man D-line against us. It might be worse. So, and I acknowledge that we cannot take any of those plays away. Like, I realize that, like, we can't take away the Saquon big runs. We can't take away the A.J. Brown touchdown catch that Quentin Lake was just one step too late on batting it out of his hand. We can't take away the OPI on Puka, or some of those weird defensive pass interference calls where it's like, where was it kind of thing. But we also had some that helped us. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I realize though we cannot take away any of those plays. But if you were to take away those 2 explosive Barkley runs, I mean, that's massive, man. That one step too short, like I said, for Quentin Lake. In rewatching the game, because I was mad at a lot of stuff that happened in the game, but rewatching it, it's just unfortunate, man. It's like you see that, and it's like, yeah, that was his 3rd step. While I was watching it live, I thought it was his 2nd step, so I thought it should be incomplete. Then you see it again with a little bit more of a level head. I'm not drinking beers. I'm not like riled up by being at the live game. I can kind of view them a little bit more rationally. And there was a bunch of those calls that, yeah, they were right, unfortunately. The challenge, the way that it all unfolded, it looked like that challenge shouldn't have happened, because I thought that the ball was snapped before the flag was out. But then rewatching it, as you can tell, Mike Tirico calls it out before the Rams snapped the ball. He said, red flag's out. So, you know, it was. And that's unfortunate. And yeah, we got burned on it. And it felt like at the time that we were getting kind of screwed. But ultimately, though, it was right. It's the right call. It's unfortunate that it happens against us and stuff like that. And Nick Sirianni still has a face that just makes you want to just, I don't know how to explain it other than that. And hopefully that makes sense to you. But him getting so mad about it, it's like, dude, why are we so mad? Just relax about it, man. And then also it worked out for you, so shut up. There's also that part about it, man. But obviously, and Puka dropping that third down, it would have been a crazy catch. It would have been one of those games that we talk, or one of those plays we talk about for a long time, but he didn't get it, and then it's fourth down, like stuff like that. But I mean, the pressure, it was absurd from the Eagles all day long. They really did set up a really good mismatches, and Steve Avila even had a pretty rough day, which is not something that we see very often. Had two pressures, one pressure in the previous 2 games, and then obviously had this one. But they were good at setting up those mismatches, just kind of confusing the Rams line a little bit. I think that they did a great job of that. When the Rams line did hold up, though, the Rams offense was still very much the Rams offense, and we were explosive. We were hitting the plays that we normally hit. Holes were opening up on the ground game, and those crossing routes were open. But we just didn't block well enough, often enough for that to become a full-on thing. But they just did an awesome job of getting Stafford off of his spot, and I think it was very clear. With the run game not able to get rolling, the pressure was definitely inevitable. So you can't really put too much on the line in Stafford when the pass rushers are able to just pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. I mean, we've seen that plenty of times when that's benefiting the Rams. And also Kyron. I want to mention just Kyron for just a short bit here. I love Kyron. Kyron is absolutely awesome. He's got to break through whatever's happening right now. There's clearly a bit of a holding on to the ball slump that is going on. And I saw this in high school when one of the guys on my team was fumbling a lot. He held the football all day long. Like he's like in class, like taking notes and stuff, holding on the ball. And the whole point was that like anybody who was on the team was just like, go punch it. And that was awesome, man. But like hopefully maybe something's going on this week and maybe that's going to be a bit of a focus. I would hope so, because Kyron is having a bit of a fumbling issue right now. But maybe it's time to see Blake get a little bit larger of a role. That's what I would like to see. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the game preview. Simply put, though, to summarize this game, the Eagles had multiple explosive plays, created great mismatches, and pulled out really clever plays on third down on both offense and defense. Rams went 0 for 8 on third down on offense. So, I mean, obviously they were pulling out some stuff there. We did have some unfortunate situations where there was, drops or penalties, stuff like that happened on third downs. And that's just unfortunate. But and the Rams just made a lot of mistakes, both in play calling and execution. The Rams made a lot of mistakes. I think that the Rams were a little too tight on the run this time and calling plays where you're like, that's not the one. Is like, let's try something different here. Didn't see a lot of traps like that, just a lot of the zones, but I think the Eagles were just too strong to kind of battle through that. But execution as well, obviously a lot of missed tackles, stuff like that, missed blocks, all that kind of goes into it. So, but each one of those mistakes, they felt like they were the absolute worst case scenario. And I would say ultimately the Rams just weren't ready for that game. That's ultimately what it comes down to, I would say. The Rams weren't ready for that game, and the Eagles came in with a great game plan. So credit to them. What is awesome, though, is that the Rams are just one game out of the NFC West division still. We got ourselves a bit of a 2010 division type of race unfolding here, if you remember that. That is why I still can't stand Charlie Whitehurst. And the day that I decided I hate the Seahawks. So that was a pretty rough day. They won the division going in 7-9. And then, of course, the Rams were the one that could have stopped that Sam Bradford's rookie season, man, when it lost 6-16 in Seattle to lose the division. And, of course, the following week was that Beast Quaker run. We could have stopped that. The Rams could have stopped that from happening. I'm sorry, NFL. Okay, that's our bad. Our bad. But the Rams, they play each one of their division opponents one more time. Currently 2-1 in the division against their rivals. And I'm not saying that the games against the Saints, the Bills, and the Jets don't matter, because they absolutely do. But these division games are officially massive for each team in the NFC West. But the idea of the playoffs, and I talk about this a lot, just get to the dance. Get the invites to the dance. You close the deal later, man. We've talked about this, all right? Get the invite to the dance. You get your date. You close the deal later, all right? Get to the dance. There's no telling what can happen once the playoffs begin, man. You got to just get in there. The 8-8 New York Giants knocking out the undefeated Patriots. Dude, anything can happen once you get into the playoffs. Get to the dance, close the deal later. If the Rams do win the division, they're like 8-9. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Win the division. That's the rules, right? Win your division and you get a home playoff game. That's the way the league is set up. And the Rams having that opportunity to do that. A great opportunity to do that. All bets are off, though, in second season, man. And that's where we're at. That's what we're looking at right now. We're also almost back to full power as far as health goes with John Johnson, Tyler Higbee, and Big Rob. All almost back. Big Rob will be back this week. Tyler Higbee back at practice. Not sure if he will get any playing time this week. I'm going to say probably not. And then John Johnson, we're waiting on an update as well, but should be back rather soon, although our safeties are playing real well. But I wouldn't be so hopeful if we weren't still smack dab in the division race. I'll say that. Being 5-6 in some of the games that we've seen in these last few weeks, especially against some of these AFC opponents where we felt like we should do a much better job. And then, of course, the Eagles game where I thought we should have done a better job, but again, just really untimely mistakes. Ultimately, if you watch that game again, I challenge you to rewatch that game because when I was watching it again, it really was just big mistakes at unfortunate times. The Rams were playing good football, just unfortunate mistakes at unfortunate times. And that second quarter play calling, that was where it was real rough. That second quarter was really the ultimate reason the Rams kind of fell apart. In that one. But wild card does feel unlikely, but division race is very much still in play. And the Rams control their own destiny with games against these teams still to go. Speaking of, let's talk about the playoff race. In the wild card slots right now is the Minnesota Vikings at 9-2, the Green Bay Packers sitting at 8-3, and Washington at 7-5. Minnesota has lost to the Rams, but with a 9-2 record, that head-to-head's probably not going to come into play. The Green Bay Packers at 8-3, they do have the head-to-head against the Rams. Also, though, maybe not going to come into play. The Packers need to do a very bad job in these. They need to go at least, just 500 for these next 6 games, and the Rams would need to obviously kind of handle their business as well. I guess technically going 500 would put both of them in the. Well, no, because the Packers, if the Rams went 500, the Packers would need to just keep on losing. But yeah, probably not going to come into play. Sitting just outside of the playoffs, the Arizona Cardinals lost grip on the first overall slot in the NFC West at 6-5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at 5-6. LA Rams 5-6. San Francisco 5-6. So a bit of a bunch up there, and then a few teams behind. All 4-7 is the New Orleans Saints, Chicago Bears, and the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys don't feel like a team that should be in the playoffs. Neither do the Bears. And I'll be honest, the Saints as well, but we'll get a good look at them this weekend. But let's take a look at the NFC West. So Seahawks in first place at 6-5, Arizona at 6-5, and the Rams and Niners both at 5-6. And we're looking at division more closely because the Rams sitting 2 wins outside of a wild card slot right now. And Washington, although they are kind of having a rough bit of an outing, I still don't think it's likely that the Rams slip in via a wild card slot. I don't think that the NFC West carries any wild card teams going into the playoffs. But the Rams in third place right now in the NFC West. Seahawks in first Rams currently hold the head-to-head against them. They can again play in Week 17. Cardinals in second. Rams don't hold the head-to-head after getting whooped up on in Week 2. They get play again in Week 18. That could be an extremely important game. And the Niners are in last place with a tough game ahead in Buffalo this week. They've got a tough stretch ahead of them. We may very well see the Niners not make the playoffs, and that's not me trying to talk trash. That's just me being, observant. And this 49ers team is not the same team that they have been, healthy or not. They're just not the same team. Let's dive into the news of the rest of the West. Time to see what those other 3 dweebs are up to. So the Arizona Cardinals sitting at 6-5 and in second place in the NFC West. In Minnesota this week, it was very much in play for the number 1 seed still, so not a cakewalk whatsoever. And Arizona does return home to take on Seattle, who they did lose to last week. So Seattle, a little Minnesota sandwich in there with a couple of games against the Seahawks. Other than that, not a lot of news coming out of Arizona. Seattle Seahawks. First place in the NFC West right now at 6-5. flying over to take on the Jets. Will be cold in New Jersey, looking at like 34, about a high on Sunday. But the big weather game going to be up in New York. We'll talk about that one here in just a second. In upper New York, though. So we'll kind of see. It should be cold, though. Seattle, though, not a warm weather place. So they should be okay. And still have the Packers and the Vikings coming up. So Seahawks, even though they are in first place, also very tough road ahead. And the San Francisco 49ers still last place, and they've got a tough road ahead, man. Snow game possible up in Buffalo this weekend, so that should be rather exciting. And they still have the Bills. They still have the Lions, Dolphins also, which I mentioned that because that's their former coach. So could be a really difficult matchup there. Let's take a peek at some transactions this week, and not all of these are going to be Rams related, but I think it's kind of cool to talk about. So the man whose ankles live at the turf at SoFi Stadium, Eli Apple, we'll be seeing that stadium a lot more often, although he did just go to IR and signing with the Chargers. So back where his ankles live forever after, Cooper Kupp did some damage to those bad boys just a couple years back, but those ankle guts still staining the SoFi turf for sure. Just wanted to throw that in there. I just think that's fun. Giants releasing quarterback Daniel Jones, who is free to sign anywhere, and did, actually. I wrote this note before he did, as he is officially with the Vikings on their practice squad, although he's fully anticipating being pulled up and becoming a QB2 for Minnesota behind Sam Darnold, which, look, I have no intentions here of trashing Daniel Jones. I've got nothing against Daniel Jones, but while the fanfare, when it's like, oh man, what's he going to pick, man? The decision 2024, Daniel Jones, where is he going? It's like, who cares? He's a backup and going to be a backup probably. I don't think that he works his way back into being, and who knows? Who knows? I said that probably about Darnold. I've probably said it about other guys as well, but I think that ultimately the fanfare on the Daniel Jones decision was like way over the top. It's like, we're not going to see him though, probably. Right? And also, I don't know why in my brain feels like he's our backup next year. I don't know why. Don't know how. I don't know how to explain that emotion, but something tells my soul that Daniel Jones just backs up Matthew Stafford next year. I don't know, man. Ramondre Stevenson fined $11,800, a little more than that, for a chop block versus the Rams. That happened against Jared Verse. In that same game, Byron Young fined $16,800 for a face mask against the Patriots. I don't recall that one, but I'm sure it was there. Byron Young be pulling face masks, that does be a thing. And good news, Tyler Higbee has officially returned to practice, which is very exciting stuff. He went out of the game in the playoffs last year against the Detroit Lions, that 1-point playoff loss in Detroit. And Tyler Higbee was a victim to what we all kind of know and consider and acknowledge and accept that is a dirty player in Kirby Joseph. So that's unfortunate there. But Tyler Higbee coming back to practice, which is very good news. It's obviously been a while since he's stepped foot on a football field. So get him some reps with the other guys, and then get him back into action. I do think that the Rams' run game does take a jump when Tyler Higbee does officially return. Before we get into our game preview, time to talk about today's sponsor in Underdog Fantasy, UnderdogFantasy.com. Be there, dude. Be there. Get the app. It's absolutely awesome, man. Like last week, we got to kind of take it on, be it the Rams being on Sunday Night Football, so you got all day to play around, dude. Absolutely awesome. And this week, hey, you don't want to be spending the whole time with your family on Thanksgiving, do you? No, probably not. Flip on the TV, man. There's going to be football games going on all day, and rock open that Underdog app as well, and turn Thanksgiving into a money-making day, dude. Turn it into a money-making day. Put some skin in the game on the 3 matchups that we got going on tomorrow. So it's the place to play if you are a sports fan trying to make some extra cash, especially on a holiday, trying to avoid your family, dude. It's absolutely awesome, man. But it's super simple as well. You think that Matthew Stafford is going to throw more than, two touchdowns? You just hit higher, dude, on that. You think that Kyron Williams is maybe going to have under 75 rushing yards? lower than 75 rushing yards, then you just hammer that, dude. It's absolutely awesome. It's super simple. That's my favorite part of the app is the simplicity for sure. You also get the vulture protection. If you designate a running back to score a touchdown, you're pick 'em, and then they get vultured, rescue that bad boy. And hey, it counts. It's absolutely awesome. Underdog is available in 33 states, including California. LA Rams fans. Texas is in there as well. Also Georgia. So yeah, hop it in, man. Like I said, my favorite part of this app is the ease of the app. I am very reluctant to learn new apps. I hate most of them. But Underdog, I was reluctant, but then I opened that bad boy up, and I was hammering stuff within 3 minutes, dude. It was absolutely awesome, and turning my couple bucks into more than a couple bucks with how easy it is. I'm telling you, man, super, super simple. So download the app today. Use promo code SHOWCASE, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That is promo code SHOWCASE to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Must be 18 or over, 19 and over in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and over in Colorado for some games, 21 and over in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, it's 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. Full game preview, Rams at Saints. That's on the way next right here on Ram Showcase. Welcome back in. This is Ram Showcase. My name is Sheriff Joe Bags. The Los Angeles Rams sitting at 5-6, hitting the road again. New Orleans Saints play host at 4-7. This game takes place at the Caesars Superdome, 1:05 p.m. kickoff time. 05. All right, that is an important number there, as those early games probably not over yet. So if you're going out for it, hey, bribe a bartender. Get that bad boy switched. This game does kick off on Fox with Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Megan O'Leary on the call. We are in the yellow zones for this, so if you are in that zone, you can just flip on some bunny ears and check out this game. But other than that, looking for other ways. There's always one person. There's always one person that's like, I use this to watch the game. It's like, well, then this distribution map isn't for you. All right, then just pretend the whole thing's yellow for you. All right, or wherever you're at then. But if you are heading out to the game, obviously it is a dome, so weather not going to be a concern. But in New Orleans, it's going to be a high of 61 on Sunday, so looking pretty nice. Looking at upper 50s throughout the game if you are headed out, so probably going to be all right, especially, like I said, going into the dome. But for you tailgaters out there, should be actually a pretty nice day out in New Orleans. For you bettors, the Rams -3. I have seen that change in some, depending on where you're looking. -3, though, for the Rams. -146 on the money line. 49.5 for your over-under. In this game, the Rams will be rocking the white jerseys, which takes us to our pants picks, where myself and Payo Time are going with the royal pants, and we do have Rams House going with the soul pants. I will say that this year, it feels like every time we wear the soul pants, nothing good happens. I don't have the numbers in front of me to back that up right now, but maybe we can start talking about that as the year goes on, about pants and how important they are. All right. Pants picks. Drop yours below as well. They usually drop them on Thursday for us. I don't know if the holiday will impact the announcement of the pants picks. Go back to the 24 hours, Rams. All right. That's when it was more fun. All right. We don't have to know pants 4 days out. All right. 24 hours is perfect. All right. That's plenty of time. Plenty of time. But December football, by the way, we're in it, dude. We are in it. December 1st is when this game happens, which is absolutely awesome. All right. This is where we find out who we are. Historically speaking, the Rams with Sean McVay have played well in December. I don't know if you remember a little bit of a Super Bowl run, but the Rams didn't win a game in November, and then December turned it on, dude. It only won the one game, and that was in overtime against the 49ers, a team that the Rams then beat a few weeks later in the NFC Championship game. So went on a run come December time. Last year, the Rams were 4-1 in December, with that one loss coming to Baltimore in overtime on a punt return for a touchdown. The Rams played the hell out of the Ravens that day, and probably could have won that game We're right in there. Just one thing happens different, and you can pull off a win there. So obviously a great stretch for the Rams last year in December. Hopefully we can get something very similar this year. And 5 December games last year the Rams had. Saints are coming off a bye, so another extended break for a team that the Rams will be playing. As this last week, the Philadelphia Eagles, they had come off a Thursday game. So mini bye there, a real full-on bye week for the Saints coming into this game. And also haven't been on the road since November 3rd. Have not had a road game since November 3rd. Their next road game, December 8th. So it will be the following week after this game, but just been cozy, dude. Just chilling in New Orleans. Just not having to do anything, not have to go anywhere. Like, it was like COVID rules for the New Orleans Saints, just hanging out at home this whole time. So very cozy over there. So maybe a little too cozy, though. We'll come in and do the Big Brother thing where you just come up and mess up their hair and then run away or something. In metaphorically speaking, give them a loss is what I'm trying to say. Saints are also 1 game behind the Rams in the wild card race and 2 games out of their division, so obviously still very much in the mix there. The Saints have won their last 2, but before that, lost 7 straight. So yeah, they won 2 to open the season, lost a bunch of games, fired their coach. They've won 2 straight since that has happened, and that was before the bye week. History of this matchup, this is the 80th all-time meeting between the Rams and the Saints. The Rams do lead the all-time series, 44-35. Rams won last year, December 21st, just ahead of Christmas, which is awesome, 22-30. That game took place in L.A., and since returning to Los Angeles, the Rams do lead the Saints 4-3. Also, next year, the Rams do play the NFC South and will be hosting the New Orleans Saints, so we will get them again next year. First ever game between these two came just a few months after both of my parents were born, man. That's crazy. That was September 17th of 1967. Rams won that 27-13 and did win the first 4 against the New Orleans Saints. Has been very streaky against the Saints overall since, obviously dating back to the 60s. So I will say this about this game as well before we get into the matchup here, is that the Saints will forever feel cheated by the Rams. The Saints fans are always going to hate the Rams a little bit. For all of the fans who watched the NFC Championship game in the 2018 season in January of 2019, they hate us forever. Until the rest of time. They are not going to be fans of the Rams. They especially, I think they feel mostly cheated, not just because of the missed pass interference call. It's been long enough. I feel confident saying, yeah, that was pass interference. All right. I also said it right when it happened, though. I have a video of that where we were watching the NFC Championship game, and I was like, that was definitely pass interference. I'm glad I didn't call it. So it's a good thing I wasn't there or anything, But either way, I think that ultimately you get that, and then the Rams only scoring 3 points in the Super Bowl. I think that the Saints are just sitting there like, oh, man, we could have done better than that. And maybe not. Who knows? But either way, that game was obviously, that's a very emotional situation, and the Saints, their fans very much still are mad about it. And I mean, whatever, rightfully so, but also it's been a few years, guys. We can't change it. Okay, it's time to move on. All right. But also, Saints have an interim head coach. That's why they've kind of been turning it around. We do see that happen from time to time. And Saints are a very hard team to assess because of that. Coming off a bye week, though, does make it tough. Obviously, an extended break on their side makes the matchup that much harder, as rightfully so. We see that all the time. The Rams benefited from having a bye week as well. It's unfortunate when you get so many teams off of extended breaks, though. Let's take a look at the matchup in this one. We'll start with the Rams offense against the Saints defense. And in total offense, the Rams are about middle of the road, ranking 17th, but the Saints defense is 31st overall, so not great on that world there. Throwing the rock, Matthew Stafford and company ranking 9th, and this is where the Saints do have the bulk of their struggles on defense, as they are 30th against the pass. Running the ball 26th for the Rams. That does feel way too low considering their roster and abilities in that world, but the Saints 25th in giving up ground yards. And points being put up, the Rams are putting up a little over 21 a game. That's 20th in the league, and 22 given up for the Saints defense. That's tied for 13th. third down conversion rate. Rams dropped here as they are now 31st after going 0-8 last week. And the Saints defense about middle of the road, giving up 36.4%. That is 15th. The Rams offensive line obviously coming off quite the rough day, but for the first time this season, we will see our top 5. It's a top 5 that we didn't think was our top 5, but turns out Jonah, as his injuries, stuff like that, when he came back in, wasn't the guy we wanted him to be. In fairness, he was just coming back off of injury. I still think he's a very good player, and I would like to see him get in there and get some continuity because we know that he's a good player. We've seen it happen. He's been in the NFL before. This isn't his first rodeo, man. So I think that if there were some other injuries, that Jonah Jackson would be able to come in and hopefully get that rolling. But Bro Limmer, man, out here. He's absolutely killing it. So obviously it looks like he is part of our best 5 in a continuity sense, for sure, part of our best 5. And this is going to be the first time this season that we will see all of those guys together. So we'll have Jackson, Avila, Limmer, Dotson, Havenstein. Boom, that's our O-line. I love to see it. Sorry about your defensive tackles and stuff like that. They're going to get pushed back, bro. Unlikely for Higbee to play, by the way. He is back at practice, which is nice. So hopefully that will kind of translate into maybe Colby Parkinson having a bit of a bigger day if he's able to. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in practice. All right. But either way, I'm excited to get Higbee back there. I will say this as well. Kyron, he might start losing some reps to Corum. This is about the time of the season where we should start seeing that split be a little bit more even. A little bit of 12 carries here, 12 carries here. Who's got it? And then as we get into the thick of the playoff race and the division race and into the playoffs, hopefully we'll have somebody kind of slotted in there. Because let's face it, Kyron is a very, very good running back. But he's having some issues right now holding on to the football. And if that's going to be an issue right now, then maybe Blake should be getting some more reps. And again, I'm not a Kyron hater in the least. I love Kyron Williams. He threw me a football against the Packers. That was awesome. That's as cool as you think it is when you're watching those videos. It's awesome. It wasn't even a great throw, but I nailed the catch. Thanks, Kyron. But he's a great player, man. But he's in a bit of a slump right now, and I don't think there's any denying that. He's got to hold on to the football. So when we can see him get better holding on to the football, then I'm back full on, on the Kyron train. But right now, I do think it's worth it to see a little bit more of Blake Corum just carrying the rock, man. See if he can hold on to that ball. That's what we need right now. We need to limit those turnovers. And if Kyron is a person that we feel like could be a risk for turnovers, which clearly he is right now, then I do think it's time to shift around those numbers just a little bit. Best matchup on the offensive side is going to be this top 5 O-line, dude. I'm going to be talking about a lot against that Saints front. Again, first time all of our starters are healthy and in. But Cameron Jordan, Chase Young, Carl Granderson, solid front for the New Orleans Saints, so obviously not a cakewalk for the Rams. Pete Warner and Demario Davis, also strong combo. And getting the ground game rolling should be the focus. And I think that having the offensive line together for the first time and tell the big dudes, hey, push people back. Usually things go well when that is the case, all right, and they're able to get that rolling. So I would look for that to be a thing with a little bit more of Blake Corum. Let's take a look at the 3 to C on the Rams offensive side. I'm going to start with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, man. So it's not that I don't think that Kool-Aid McKinstry is a good corner, because he is. But I really like Kupp in this matchup, man. I'll be honest. I really like it. Puka, by the way, also has a favorable matchup. I'm going Kupp here, though, because Puka has been on fire. Puka's been racking up numbers like crazy, while Kupp seems to be more of a reliable as far as his usage in the offense recently. So, obviously, Puka, he's got a good matchup, too. We fully expect Puka to go off every week. And when he doesn't, we're like, what happened? Even like an 89-yard game, you're like, something's up with Puka, man. Which is really exciting. But Kupp, I think he's been a little bit, numbers-wise, he's been more inconsistent. But he is playing really, really good football. He's obviously an incredible talent. So there's that part. But I'm feeling a big day out of Cooper Kupp in New Orleans. It'll be loud, and the 9 to 10 connection there is going to be, it's going to need to show up to keep those volumes down. We saw that in that NFC Championship game. That's the loudest game I've ever watched. And I realize that's a weird thing to say. My eyes have never experienced that much loud. You know what I mean? But I seeing like like Witt have to come all the way over, like in front of somebody. Gosh, I mean, it's gonna drive me nuts that I don't remember the left guard's name from that game. Just so you know who I am as a person, but so like he had to like lean all the way over and stuff like that, and it's like, gosh, that's rough, man. So intense, man, but keeping that nine and dime connection going, keep those levels down. Speaking of the offensive line, Big Rob, man, Big Rob's return to the lineup, and I think we will feel it. I like McClendon. Not going to say that he's a bad player by any means, but he had a tough task last week. All right, those are some very good pass rushers that he was trying to go against. And technique was beating Warren McClendon last week in a situation where I don't feel like Big Rob would have got as much as Warren McClendon did. Big Rob, an incredible right tackle. Running off right side might be a little bit of the play, as Avila did have, like we talked about, a little bit of a rough week last week. Blake Corum. Yeah, putting him in here, man. I do not dislike Kyren whatsoever. I have no negative emotions towards Kyren Williams outside of that stomach drop that I get when I see the ball hit the ground. That is a very terrible time, but ultimately I'm a big fan of Kyren. So I'd like to see him be able to turn around and stuff like that, but I've got nothing negative to say about him, but I'm getting very excited to see Blake Corum, and I think that is important. Corum extremely similar to Williams, and I do think that could be bad news for Kyren if Blake does take advantage of his reps the rest of this season. That could spell the end of Kyren Williams. We're quick to move on from guys. We don't feel like we need them to succeed. We do move on from guys rather quick. I don't think that's impossible. That happens to Kyren if Blake can kind of start going off. Rams really should have a change of pace guy, like we saw Philadelphia. They've got that in Gainwell to Barkley. But Blake Corum and Kyren Williams are the same guy. So sometimes you can't tell. Like when the play's happening, if you didn't watch them switch or like really pay attention to who's in, sometimes you don't know. And the announcers do it all the time. Oh, Kyren Williams up the middle for 6 yards. Oh, that's Blake Corum. Like, that happens. That's happened all year. So obviously they run very, very similar. And I think that's also another reason why like Kyren just, I don't know. You may not be as safe on this roster as that goes, but having a change of pace guy to Blake potentially in the future is what we might be looking at here. But either way, I think that Blake does need to get some more reps. Not necessarily taking everything from Kyren, but evening that out a little bit more, I think is very realistic and reasonable. And the advantage here. So, I mean, Saints defense, they're second to last in the league when it comes to yards given up. Rams offensive line back together for the first time this year. When they had blocking last week, the Rams offense was very much the Rams offense. We were hitting those plays that we normally hit when we had blocking, which was not all the time. Just didn't happen as much as we wanted it to happen, obviously. But this front for the Saints isn't as good. I think that the Rams do have the advantage here when it comes to the Rams offense versus the Saints defense. Flip it over to the other side. Let's go with the Saints offense against the Rams defense. Here is where the Saints are almost a top 10 unit. They rank 11th in the league in total yards, 26th ranked defense for the Rams in total yards given up. Passing the football, middle of the road for Derek Carr and company, 17th in the league, but that is pretty in line with the Rams defense, which ranks 19th. Just a 2-yard average difference between those two, so about that should be what we expect from this game. Running the rock, top 10 unit for the New Orleans Saints, as they've got a great combo at running back. They are 9th in the league, and against the run, the Rams are 28th. Definitely took a dent in that bad boy this last week. Those averages definitely got pulled up from a week ago. Points being put up almost 24 for the Saints offense. That's 11th. And just over 24 for the Rams defense. That is 22nd. On third down, 39% of third down conversions for the Saints. That is 14th. Rams giving up a little over 40. That is 19th in the league. So, obviously, this matchup here, there's, the passing game. The Rams are right in line there. And if you just look at averages, like on points and stuff like that, technically, we're looking at a Saints 24-21 win. All right. So you bettors out there, if you like those numbers enough to put that on there. But that'll also mess up with your with the spreads and all that stuff. So you gotta be picky about it, man. Gotta be picky about it. But obviously the Rams had a rough day against the run last week, and it doesn't get easier this week with Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams running the rock for the Saints. I should look at the injury reports here, but it's so early. It's Wednesday, man. A lot of things happen over the course of the week, so not going to dive too much into that right now. Offensive line, not as good as Philly as well, which could be really good news for the Rams front, who, let's face it, got a little bullied last week. Trenches were just not in line for the Rams last week, and that was felt on the defensive side as well. There were plays where the Rams were able to get in there. Obviously, Fisk getting in there, making a big play, stuff like that. Would love to see it, but just not consistent enough. There was too many times when Jalen Hurts was just able to chill back there, man. But also, Jalen Hurts not a statue. Derek Carr's not as mobile. He's got a worse offensive line, so like we should be able to get it in there. Should I say that word? Because who knows? Obviously, each NFL game is very much its own feel here. On your best matchup, as far as the Saints offense, Rams defense, I'm going with Christian Rozeboom and Omar Speights versus Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams. Rozeboom set a single game career high in tackles last week with 12 against the Philadelphia Eagles, and had some plays where he was absolutely flying around. Obviously, some missed tackles. I don't want to just pretend those didn't exist, but there was one play pretty early in the game. I don't remember exactly when it was, where ball snapped, Jalen takes that one step back and then starts moving. By the time he was already moving forward, Rozeboom had already seen it, dude, and he punished Hurts, man. Laid a shoulder into him. It was a clean hit, absolutely awesome. But Rozeboom, he's been flying around. Since the bye week, I think Rozeboom has been awesome. I realize that there are a certain percentage of fans who already have their minds made up about Christian Rozeboom and how they feel about him. But I'm here to tell you, dude. Okay, first of all, I was one of the last ones to be like, all right. And I could acknowledge that he was playing poorly. But I also like Christian Rozeboom. I think he's a good player. And I think that we're seeing that unfold right now. He's getting better right now. And we're seeing some really interesting stuff. I just kind of, again, I challenge you. I say that loosely because you don't have to do anything I say. But when I rewatch this game, man, I do watch Rozeboom a lot on my rewatches, and the dude's playing awesome, simply put. And if you are gonna sit here and say that he's not, then you are kind of ignoring him or paying too much attention to his bad plays. But guess what? They've all got bad plays. Steve Avila got ripped up this week, man. Obviously. Quentin Lake, I think, had a rough day against Philadelphia. He was close on a lot of things, but had a rough day against Philadelphia. We've seen Puka have bad days, Stafford, you know what I mean? So, obviously, Christian Rozeboom with the tackles, that's something that had been a problem earlier in the year, and that was against Saquon, but Saquon's hard to tackle, all right? And basically what I'm just trying to tell you is that I think Christian Rozeboom is playing some really, really good football right now, and I don't think the fans have really fully turned all the way around on Rozeboom yet. Omar Speights, though, still also killing it. Thought he was going to have a bit of a bigger game against Philly. He was from Philly, grew up an Eagles fan, stuff like that, but that didn't happen. But Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, obviously that's a tough task as well. So they're both great weapons in not just the run game, but also the pass game. So these two players, Rozeboom and Speights, I think that they're going to have to really focus in on that and pay attention to that. So we saw that a few times with Saquon, where he would stay in the block, and then once he got beat, then he just kind of turns around. He's available for a pass. So that's something that I hope comes up on tape, and we are able to avoid that this week against guys who are very good in the pass game as well. 3 to C on the Rams defensive side. We can go with Quentin Lake. Captain Q had a bit of a rough day last week. So close to so many great plays, but that just ended up being not great plays. There was a pass interference that was a bit of a phantom call. I didn't really see it when rewatching. That unfortunate touchdown was just barely too late. And by rule, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not mad about it still, but by rule, that is a touchdown. So, I mean, credit where credit's due. But Q seems too level-headed to let that leak into multiple games. The whole thing of don't let the Eagles beat you twice. I think reporters that were asking questions about that earlier in the week, I don't think that maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it feels like they misunderstood it of don't let that Eagles game stay in your head this week. Don't let them beat you twice, that's over now. The game's done. Now we're on Saints, you know what I mean? So I think that the Q is too level-headed to let that happen. So I do expect a better game from him this time. And also, he's a captain. He needs to rally the troops after a rough outing. That's it. Defensive leaders will be big this week. And speaking of big defensive leaders, Kobe Turner's next up here. As Rams got gashed up front last week, let Barkley set an Eagles record, most rushing yards by an Eagle in a single game, so that's real fun. Turner might be in just his second season, but he's got the C on his jersey. It's time to be awesome about it, all right? So Turner has to be the one to really step it up and make those plays. He did, and I will say that there was some when the Barkley train started really rolling. Fisk getting pulled out for Bobby Brown was such a good move because Bobby Brown was able to make a lot of really good plays. And it's not that Fisk is bad at all. Excuse me. But I do think that there was some plays where he was just getting washed out. And I do think his size did get a little bit, it was a factor in there. But I think that Kobe Turner and Bobby Brown, excuse me. Ugh, I don't know what's happening in my face right now. But either way, I think that they did a great job. But Braden Fisk, I wanted to see a little bit more, but obviously he had the big sack and stuff like that. And he was getting in there, but it did seem a little bit few and far between. So there. And also, Braden Fisk is going to be my last on the 3 to see here because of that a little bit. So he didn't get onto the field for the tush push. And so I guess the coaches disagreed with me entirely on that. I thought that him being strong and kind of stout, that he would be able to be an asset in that world. But we went with Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, and Bobby Brown on those plays, which, I mean, so be it. I'm not in the team meetings and stuff like that. But I just wanted to see Braden Fisk in that. I thought that he would be a good addition there. So that wasn't the case. But he did do some pretty cool stuff this week and is officially what I would consider an underrated defensive rookie of the year candidate. Yeah, dude, I'm talking about it. He's got more sacks than the edge rusher, Jared Verse. I think it's time we start having this conversation. He has more sacks than Verse from the inside. Definitely has gotten some help on some, but dude gets in the backfield, all right? He's the little bowling ball that gets back there, man. And get a statue this week, and Derek Carr could mean that Fisk is in for a truly big week, as I'm liking the matchup for Braden Fisk going into this one. So on the defensive side, as far as we look at the advantage goes, the Saints offense, certainly not a bad unit. They can definitely run the rock as well. But the Rams defense coming off a week, they got gashed. I'm sure that'll be emphasis this week. I do expect a stronger performance from this Rams defense based on what happened last week. Those explosive plays obviously gotcha. And just too many times where it was just like too super close to making a play and then it not happening. And that goes down to everything. That goes down to an almost blocked punt, the defensive pass interference, that touchdown by A.J. Brown. Like, stuff like that was like, it was so close. And then even on some of those big runs, that first Barkley big run to start the second half, if Christian Roseboom takes this step instead of this step, he's maybe in position to make a great tackle. So obviously it was one of those things. But I would say on the ground, the Saints do have the advantage here, but I do like the Rams against the pass in this matchup. So take a look at the connections here. Former Rams who are now on the Saints. We have John Benton. We have Matt Giordano. We also have senior defensive assistant Peter Guinta, and also pass rush specialist Brian Young. All of those members of the Saints were part of the St. Louis Rams, none on the LA Rams. And we also have no former Saints who are on the Rams now. Keep those dweebs out of here, dude. Hell yeah. All right. And some connections here in the NFL. D-Rob and Christian Roseboom, they played in Kansas City with Tyrann Mathieu, Kalen Saunders, Willie Gay Jr., and Tona... Oh, man. You know who I'm talking about. All right. I try to be name guy. I try to nail those every time. I can't even guess. I don't even have to guess. I'd have to look it up. So sorry, Tona. Jimmy G, he took over quarterback for Derek Carr for the Raiders, so they didn't play there together, but did have a bit of a connection there. Jonah Jackson played in Detroit with running back Jamal Williams. Neville Gallimore, I like this guy a lot, man. He played in Dallas with Cedric Wilson Jr. and John Ridgway III. Hunter Long played in Miami with Cedric Wilson Jr. Cam Curl played in Washington with Chase Young and John Ridgway III. Darius Williams, D-Will, played in Jacksonville with Trey Herndon and Kevin Austin Jr. And Jimmy G again. He played in San Francisco with wide receiver Dante Pettis. College connections here. John Johnson and Hunter Long played at Boston College with Will Harris. DK, Davis Allen, and Tyler Davis all played at Clemson with defensive tackle Brian Breesy. Puka Nacua played at BYU with tight end Dallin Holker. Kyron Williams played at Notre Dame with defensive end Isaiah Foskey and wide receiver Kevin Austin Jr. Jonah Jackson played at Ohio State with linebacker Pete Warner. He played there with Chase Young as well, and wide receiver Chris Olave. Bunch of connections there for Ohio State. Neville Gallimore, love that guy. He played at OU with Spencer Rattler. Jordan Whittington played at Texas with Jalen Ford. Bobby Brown played at Texas A&M with Eric McCoy and Jacob Caboti. And Jacob Hummel played at Iowa State with tight end Michael Jacobson. Pretty cool stuff there. Let's take a look at the milestones here. Sean McVay still needs just one regular season win to pass John Robinson for most regular season wins in franchise history. And I got to say, first of all, John Robinson, rest in peace. And second of all, doing this against the Saints just feels right. I don't even know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain the emotion that Sean McVay breaking a Rams franchise win record in the regular season against the Saints somehow just feels accurate. I don't even know if that makes any sense. All right? I don't know. Cooper Kupp, all right, he is officially going into his 100th NFL game this weekend against the New Orleans Saints. He is currently tied with Antonio Brown for second most receptions by a player in their first 100 games, meaning that he will be in second by himself, passing Antonio Brown, and he does need 3 receptions this week. Has to happen this week. This is his 100th game to pass both Brown and Keenan Allen for the most receptions in a player's first 100 career games. How wild is it, by the way, a little bit of a sidebar here, that Antonio Brown, I forget that Antonio Brown was like a real sick receiver early in his career, because now he's got no marbles left. Where are all of his marbles? I have no idea. He's lost his mind, but obviously incredible player early in his career, and then, just kind of dwindled down. And I don't know the cause of that, and I'm not going to speculate on the cause of that. I just think that Antonio Brown needs to stay away from the NFL now, and that's awesome. Really love what he did out there early. Those Pittsburgh years were kind of fun to watch and stuff, but now, man, just stay out of here, man. We don't need get out of here. Moving on. Rob Havenstein. If Rob Havenstein starts, which we do think that he will pass Todd Light for the 10th most career starts in franchise history. Rather cool there. Braden Fisk passed Byron Young, Robert Quinn, and Aaron Donald. You might have heard those names. They're pretty good. They passed them for the most sacks by a Ram in their first 11 career starts. So yeah, or games. Their first 11 games, dude. He's got more sacks than Byron Young, Quinn, and Donald individually in their first 11 games. That's so crazy to me. I'm trying to wrap my brain around that. And Braden Fisk, man, I'm telling you, underrated for Defensive Rookie of the Year, man. I'm trying to put that into the universe a little bit. And also maybe I'm just trying to light a little bit of a spark under Jared Verse. Dude, where you at? All right. You're on the edge, man. You're on the edge. And also Darius Williams. He passed Hall of Fame safety Aeneas Williams for 14th most passes defended in franchise history. So creeping up the list there. That is your game preview as the Rams hit the road against the New Orleans Saints this Sunday for some Week 13 action. And again, it's going to be televised on Fox. Hopefully you got the long weekend. Hopefully this is kind of how you wrap up your weekend, your long weekend before getting back to work on Monday with a big fat Rams dub. Fill that belly with a big fat Rams dub. Hell yes. We got fan quesos. That's next on Ram Showcase. Welcome back in. This is Ram Showcase. My name is Sheriff Joe Bags. Ram Showcase, a weekly Rams podcast about the Los Angeles Rams. We do kind of take a little bit of a lighter schedule come off-season time, but hey, we're back in it, man. We're doing pretty good stuff. Now that I only work one job, I can do this stuff. Let's see here. We'll start on the Facebook page. Thank you to getting those in here. And we'll start with Rich, who says, if and when will Sean allow the OC to call all plays? I feel like I kind of know what you're asking on this question. It sounds like you're saying that you want the OC to call all plays. And I'm going to say hopefully not ever. Sean McVay is the play caller. He's the reason our offense has been so good. I realize that he outthinks himself sometimes, but also no coach is perfect. You know what I mean? All the greatest coaches in NFL history have lost plenty of games and had some bad times and had some bad game plans, been outcoached in games, stuff like that. It's one of those situations where I think we're too close to it right now, where in like 20, 30 years, Sean McVay is going to be talked about as the best coach in Rams history. Unless we can find somebody else that in this next 30 years that's also incredible. I think that there's a very clear-cut answer to who is the best coach in Rams franchise history. It is Sean McVay. We're seeing it right now. So having a bad game, having a bad season, having a bad stretch, I don't think is any reason to try to make any changes when it comes to that. Because ask around, dude. Ask around to other fan bases, other stuff, and not like Niners, but like ask around other football people that you know and trust, and just like tell them like, hey man, just shoot me straight here. What do you think about Sean McVay? And then listen about the compliments that they give him. All right, that's like kind of my biggest thing. It's talk to other fans, man, and see. But as far as if and when will Sean allow the offensive coordinator to call all plays? Hopefully no time soon, man. Or hopefully it's a better offensive coordinator. And that's not to try to take a shot at LaFleur, because I like LaFleur, but he's not better than Sean McVay at calling plays. I'd be a little bit like, hey, what are we doing? But I understand your point here, and I also understand that the Rams offense, we do expect them to be better than they are right now. And it's one of those situations where I do think that Sean McVay is out coaching himself a little bit. What happened to the jet sweeps, dude? What happened? Where did they go? All right. I feel like that's not talked about enough. That we've just completely changed a lot of stuff, and it's not the same Rams offense anymore, play call wise and all that stuff. But also sometimes it works huge. So there's that part of it. Next one here is coming from Mark on the Facebook page. Why did McVay call a run to Kyron Williams when he fumbled on our first drive inside the red zone, when the play before literally 3 defensive backs got hurt and had to leave the game? How do you not call a pass there and attack 3 backup DBs? Great question, but also there's more that goes into it than just like, hey, they've got some guys out, let's attack them. It's deeper than that. But also I would probably say in that situation, you're probably like, they probably think we're going to target the end zone here. So let's maybe not, like, you know what I mean? So I get I definitely understand the want and desire to kind of attack when they have people go down. Like we've seen it against us all the time. The second that Aaron Donald's out of the game, guess what they're doing? Play action and sitting back in the pocket for years to find an open guy, or running right at whoever is replacing them. You know what I mean? So we've seen that plenty of times, but it doesn't always work. But I would say that to say why did McVay call a run to Kyron Williams in that situation? Unfortunately, and I realize it's a lame answer, is like I would have no idea. I would have to ask Sean McVay. And Sean McVay might have a weird answer to that. He might say like, well, because we set up this, we did this on this play, so we wanted to do this. Like there could be a reasoning behind it that I don't understand. But watching the game again, I mean, we wanted to get the ground game rolling, and it was our first drive. So guys going down or not, I think that the Rams were very adamantly trying to get the ground game rolling, and I do think that's about it. Next one here coming from Shannon. Why do we suck? Why do you suck? No, we're young right now, man. You know that though. I mean, I realize that you are one of the more, I don't say this negatively, but one of the more emotional fans as far as like, because emotions can be a lot of things. That can be excited, that can be angry, that can be sad. You know what I mean? Like you are one of the more emotional fans, and I don't mean that as an attack. But why do we suck right now, man? It's just because we're young. We're a young team. We're a very young defense. We're making a lot of mistakes there right now. We have a first-year defensive coordinator in Chris Shula. He's been making some mistakes. I think Sean McVay is kind of outthinking himself in a lot of sense. And also, we got outcoached against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think it defines the Rams and who they are, but I do think that ultimately why we suck is just it's inexperience right now. But I will say that the core that this Rams team has right now, I am fired up, dude, for 2025, 2026. 26 will be a fun one, man. Rams back in Denver for some action, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I think that ultimately it's just inexperience. It's young. We're gonna have some of those games that we're like, what is happening here? And again, like I said earlier in the show, that I really do chalk it up to the Rams just making the worst possible mistakes at the worst time. Weren't playing poorly overall. I mean, obviously had plenty of plays that didn't go our way, and the line could have blocked better. Defensive line could have gotten better pressure more consistently. But when the line did block, it was great. And when the Rams were able to get pressure, it was awesome. So yeah, it's just an experience and inconsistencies right now, unfortunately. Next up, Edwin. Emphasis on the win. Says, hey man, still think our Rams are going to make the playoffs. We got this. Love that attitude, Edwin. Hell yes. First question: if D-Rob can't play this Sunday, would you rather have Tutu or Jordan Whittington as your third? I would go with Tutu as my third. We do know that D-Rob will play this weekend, but I would go with Tutu, simply just an experience thing. And also, I think that he's in a spot right now where he's kind of clinging on to his Rams career. If he doesn't light it up, I think in these last 6 games, or if the Rams don't make the playoffs, I think there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and obviously the decision won't be made based off of one thing. But Tutu Atwell's probably gone after this year. We probably got him for 6, hopefully more than 6 games. We got 6 more guaranteed. Hopefully we get more after that. But I do think that we're looking at the last few from him. But I also do think that Tutu is a good player, and I would like to see him get more involved. But it's like we had it last week where somebody was like, Creed Humphrey, who? That was Cody. And it was like, dude, Creed Humphrey, the guy. I think I didn't say it, I don't think, on the show last week, but it was like, if we would have taken Creed Humphrey, there is 0 people that would have ever, in this entire span since that draft happened, been like, we could have had Tutu. Like, that didn't happen. It wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So, but Tutu, I like him. I do think that he's on his last bit here. So maybe I'm talking myself out of this and saying I would go Jordan Whittington to get him more experience, because we're going to have him longer, I think. From today on, we're going to have Jordan Whittington on this roster, I think, longer than we have Tutu. Next up from Edwin, who on defense would you want to keep after their rookie contract is up if you could only keep one from the 2024 draft? Oof, dude, that's a tough one. I'm going to go ahead and say Verse, because I think that physically he's just absurd. He's one of those athletes that you're like, that's not real. Hey, what? Like, the way that he bulldozed Mailata, dude, that was one. It was like, first of all, that man has a family. Second of all, that is an all-pro, Pro Bowl level tackle that he just embarrassed on national TV. So sick. So sick. He just read the snap. He wasn't off early, but either way. But I would say Verse because of that. But Kinchins is a great pick. Fisk, great pick as well. I think that either of them, you could argue and say that would be that would be good picks there. When we make the playoffs, who would you rather face, the Eagles or the Lions? I want the Lions, man. Eagles, I don't have no internal, beef with. I think Detroit, though, because the last 2 times we played them in the playoffs last year, week 1 this year, we were in position to win those games, and they just barely pulled it out. And I do want them again. And knocking them out of the playoffs would be so sick, because everybody thinks that, everybody's just penciling in. It's like, if the Lions don't represent the NFC in the playoffs, then what are we even doing? And it's like, well, there's other good teams here. There's Vikings are having a strong year. Packers can definitely do it. That's just in their division. You also got the Philadelphia Eagles, who we just saw, and then you never know when the playoffs start. So, next up here, which current Rams player would you trust to take care of Carl for a week if you had to go on a trip? That's so funny. I didn't read that one ahead of time. That's hilarious, dude. Carl, if you don't know, is my cat. If I remember, I'll put up a picture of him for the video audience. Little Carlos, man, he's my guy. I would say that's kind of funny that you asked me on Saints Week, because if I had to pick an NFL player, not just a Rams player, to watch Carl for the week, it's certainly Jamal Williams, dude. He's like a cat guy. He's got cats. I would trust him absolutely to make sure that Carl's good. But if I had to pick a Ram, I think I would go with, I don't know anybody on the Rams who is like a cat person necessarily. But I would go with Puka or Kobe, just because I think that from a soul standpoint, they're the most pure human beings I think I've ever encountered. Rams House got to meet both of those guys. We were with each other to meet them both And were you there for Kobe? Maybe that was before the game, but afterwards Puka was there, and we got to meet Puka together. Me and Ram's house. It was really cool. But just the overall vibe, man, the energy, just some of the purest human beings I've ever encountered. It's absolutely awesome. I 1000% love that. So I would say either of them, just because I know that even in the worst case scenario, even if they weren't cat guys or whatever, that they would do a good job and make sure that everything is A-okay in the sheriff station, as we like to call it. So Peo, your first one here says, reminder of the question from last week. And I went through this, man, and I was sitting there and I was like going through all this stuff, and I was trying to think of some clever stuff. And I had one that I liked so much that I wanted it to be my only answer. The question, by the way, let me go ahead and find it, so I'm not just butchering this. So let me find the question here from Peo Times. So it says the Rams marketing department contacts you about an upcoming ice cream event at SoFi Stadium. They need your help. What Rams players' names could you link to something ice cream or ice cream adjacent? Example, Stafford Sprinkles, Puka Nutella, Reese's Cooper Cups, which, by the way, Cooper Cups, that's like the best one. Yeah, absolutely. That's top tier. We do Cooper Cup cakes. That's when I have had too many beers and the Rams are doing a bad job, so I eat a cupcake in one bite to bring the team luck. You know what I mean? I don't know. All right. But I fell on one, man, because I'm an alliteration guy. So your Stafford Sprinkles, I absolutely respect that for sure. But me being the guy that I am, liking alliteration and also liking certain flavors, I'm going Puka Pistachio. And that's it. That's my answer. That's the only one, man. The only one that matters. Puka Pistachio. Pistachio is the best. You fight me on that, dude. Pistachio muffins, even, dude. Incredible every time. Pistachio pudding, incredible. Pistachios by themselves, incredible, dude. So yeah, Puka Pistachio. Pistachio Puka. That's the one. And you can also get your Stafford Sprinkles on there. If you've got others, play along below as well. Next one here from Peo. Situation, you get to interview one Rams player of your choice from the current Rams team, but the catch is you have to do it while skydiving. Which player are you picking, and what Rams color scheme do you want your parachute to be? Doesn't matter what player I'm picking, because I'm screaming the whole time, dude. So it doesn't matter. Because my only question is gonna be, what the hell? What am I doing out here? There's gonna be a lot of things, a lot of curse words probably being said, but in that situation, man, I would do Puka just because, again, I feel like he would actually try to answer your questions while flying. You know, you'd be like wind flying by you, just it'd be like, what do you think it would be a realistic plan for 5 years? And he would like give you an answer. I don't know where my question was going, but that's what I would do. And what color, dude? Give me soul and bone, dude. That sounds so sick, dude. I love the soul and bone combo. That is absolute fire. This is white. So it's not the bone. If this was bone on this side, dude, this would be my number one favorite hoodie of all time. Top tier. My other one that I got from SoFi is SoFi exclusive. That one's got a lot of bone on it. Big fan of that. Super sick. Bone color for president. Probably wouldn't be bad. Let's see. Moving on. If SoFi, this is from Rams House, by the way. If SoFi Stadium was to get a new sponsor that would change the name of the stadium, what would you like to see? I feel like SoFi feels classic. That does, man. SoFi, when I first heard SoFi was getting the naming rights, I was like, okay, SoFi Stadium. I like it. Like, that's fine. But obviously, if there were to be a new sponsor of the stadium, dude, enjoy your stay at Rams Showcase Stadium. What? Obviously, dude, that's so sick. But yeah, that's. But I also more realistically, and mainly for color scheme purposes, IKEA, Best Buy would be a good one. Napa Auto Parts. I think any of those would be good. Scheme wise, color scheme wise, you'd be able to brand the hell out of that place, and that'd be really cool. Because that SoFi color doesn't exactly fit in. But it's fine still. It doesn't bother me. Let's see here. From Rams House. What would it be like sharing a room with Chris Shula? That's a tough one, man. I don't really know much about him. I think he would just get annoyed by me because I would just be like, why don't we blitz more? And he'd be like, yeah, so because in this situation, be like, yeah, but blitzing. Blitz. And he'd be like, yeah, see, but what I'm saying is that, like, when this guy does, blitz, though, Chris. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go for a walk or something. What would it be like sharing a room with Ethan Evans? Probably boring. I feel like that guy doesn't get a lot of excitement. He's going to knock the ISS out of the sky one day, but he's also at a little bit of what I would consider a punting slump. I was trying to combine those words in my head. It didn't work out because it just came out to pump. A slunt, which sounds like a bad word. So that's cool. But yeah, it's. I feel like Ethan Evans would probably just sleep a lot. I think. I don't actually know. I don't know enough about Ethan Evans either. Let's see. Do you think the Rams will make the playoffs this season? This question coming from Paul. I do. I really do. I think that December football for the Los Angeles Rams is some good stuff, and I think that we're going to see it this weekend. I think the Rams do a very good job against the New Orleans Saints, and I don't like to give out predictions and do all that stuff or kind of put myself in a spot where somebody can, like, clip me and be like, see, this is why this guy's an idiot. Which, I mean, in fairness, you can clip almost any 5 seconds of the show and do that, and it would make sense. But I think that ultimately the Rams are in a good spot right now. We've been playing really good football against our division. Obviously, the Arizona game is going to be a big one, but I do think the Rams can win that game at home, kind of even up the score against the Arizona Cardinals this year. We have already beaten the San Francisco 49ers. We get them on a short week coming up here in a few weeks on Thursday Night Football. That's right after the Rams game against the Bills. So that's going to be a tough 4 days, man. And not just because it's the Niners, but because it's tough to play 4 days later after playing a very physical team in the Buffalo Bills. So that's one thing to consider as well. And then Seattle, I think that the Rams can beat Seahawks. That game will be at home, just much like the Arizona game. And I do like the Rams' chances to slip into the number one slot in the NFC West. Whether that means that the Rams are the 3 or 4 seed, we'll see. I would assume 4, but who knows? That would probably mean also hosting the Minnesota Vikings, which I also feel good about. Daniel Jones isn't going to make the difference, I think, there. They scored 6 points after their first 2 drives, and I think the Rams could do that again. We also weren't at full power in that one. No Puka, no Kupp, like most of our offensive line out still. So I like that. Also, same thing against the Green Bay Packers, if that were to be the case, because the Green Bay Packers, that game was very close as well. A couple of big plays there, you take those away, and the Rams probably win that. You take away 2 like deep balls in that game, and the Rams maybe win that one. So they're playing really, really good defensively outside of those few plays. But to answer your question, Paul, I do think the Rams make the playoffs this season, and I'm fired up about it, dude. Get to the dance. Get the invite to the dance. Close the deal later, man. We've all been to prom. We know how it works. All right, you don't gotta be talking about the closing the deal ahead of time. You all know what's going down, okay? And so just get to the dance. That's you just need to put on your tux, get the little thing, whatever what's called, the flower. I didn't go to prom. I don't know anything about that stuff, dude. But yeah, get to the dance. Close the deal later. And then last one here is going to come from Payo Time. Do you think A.J. Jackson becomes one of the top 5 highest paid left tackles next offseason? Top 5 is tough. I love A.J. Jackson. I think the dude's awesome. Will I say will be a top 5 paid left tackle next season? I would say probably not, but I do think that he's going to get a pretty decent deal. I do think he'll be a top 10 left tackle in the going into next season as far as pay goes. But I'm not sure if top 5. And I'd have to look at the numbers for top 5 and what their averages are, to like what their yearly averages are to see if I do think that would happen. But I mean, certainly the case is typically what we've seen in the NFL for the last however many years is each number gets beat. So if the Rams do think that A.J. Jackson is a long-term person you want at your safety slot or safety at your left tackle spot, then pay him. You pay that guy. Much like Kevin Dotson just got paid. You know, I'm talking myself into it, I think. Yes, I do. I've done that a lot today. I think I've just thought out loud for a good chunk of this episode, which is really fun stuff. But thank you guys for dropping your fan quesos. Again, you can drop those at any time. I'm going to start putting out the post the day before to allow some more to come in. so that I can get them in there. So if you've got fan questions, definitely just drop them, man. You can get them over to me, and we'll get them part of the next show. Next week, we will get a full game preview for the Rams and Bills game. Also, I will be at that game, so if you're going to be out for that one, definitely let's do some stuff. Let's make our beers become friends, and then we drink them and stuff. Let's do all that fun stuff, man. The SoFi tailgate, that's my happy place, man. So I'll be out there pretty early for sure. If you're going to be out there, hit me up, man. We'll take photos and stuff like that. I got towels that I can give away. I did have more decals. I don't have a lot of decals. I did get one package lost in the mail, unfortunately. I was going to have a bunch more for that. But yeah, dude, let's meet up. Let's have a good time and enjoy our Rams football game next weekend. But first and foremost, take care of business in New Orleans against these Saints. Again, these guys, the fans hate us. They hate the Rams. They hate Bill Vinovich. Probably still. And yeah, so it's going to be a hostile environment out there in New Orleans. Obviously, everybody will be a little ramped up from Thanksgiving and all that good stuff, but should be a good weekend of football action, man. So again, thanks for dropping your fan cases. Thanks for hanging out with me all this time. And make sure you follow on ramshowcase.com, Ram Showcase, at Sheriff Joe Bags, where you follow along on socials. Doesn't sound like that there is at least any interest on helping out with clipping and stuff like that, which is totally fine. I will figure out how to do all that stuff and get that kind of rolling on our end over here. But then I will say that will impact live streams. We'll probably not get those back until I can get some help. Just takes up too much time. Yep, that's that. That is that. Big old football game going on this weekend. Rams taking on the New Orleans Saints. Big one for the playoffs, and tough road for these other NFC West teams. So if there's a chance for the Rams to kind of jump on it right now, well, it's right now. So we're rooting for the Jets this week. We're also we hope the Bills win. And I forgot. Well, let's look at who the Seahawks play. I forgot already forgot. So we're just going to kill more time, I guess. We're already at the end. Yeah. Oh, the Arizona Cardinals. Minnesota. That's the one. So, yeah. Tough road for the rest of the West. So Rams do have a really good opportunity right here, taking on an inferior Saints team, or a team that I do feel the Rams are better than. But that is going to do it for me. I am Sheriff Joe Bags. This has been Rams Showcase on Sports War Radio and the Fan-Sided Network. For those of you who aren't Rams fans, our thoughts and prayers are with you. For those of you who are Rams fans, thank you so much for watching, and go Rams.